Dr. Elias Hunter sat alone in his dimly lit laboratory, staring at the flickering screens before him. The hum of machinery was the only sound that accompanied his thoughts, a steady reminder of his growing sense of disillusionment. A brilliant scientist, Elias had once believed that human ingenuity could conquer any obstacle. But now, as Earth faced the harsh realities of environmental collapse, political unrest, and a space fleet that was aging beyond repair, he couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was running out of time. For years, Elias had worked on Earth's top-secret space exploration program, dedicating himself to developing technology that could carry humanity beyond the stars. He had sacrificed relationships, his health, and even his sleep, all for the belief that interstellar survival was possible. Yet, despite his contributions, he was consistently overlooked. His peers were more interested in fame and funding than the greater good, and the government seemed content with maintaining the status quo. Elias's goal was simple: prove that humanity could survive and thrive beyond the Earth. He wanted to build a future where humans were not confined to a dying planet, but were free to explore the galaxy. However, as the months passed, that goal began to feel more like a distant dream. The weight of bureaucratic red tape, political corruption, and limited resources made him feel like he was fighting a battle he couldn't win. His hope was dwindling, but his resolve remained. Deep down, Elias knew he had one last chance to prove that human intelligence and adaptability could overcome anything. It was during one of his late-night sessions, when the rest of the world was asleep, that everything changed. Elias was reviewing data from an experimental project, a deep space probe designed to listen for signals from alien civilizations. The probe had been launched years ago, but no one had expected it to yield anything meaningful. It was a gamble, one that most people had already written off as a waste of resources. But as Elias ran a series of diagnostic tests, he noticed something odd, something that didn't belong in the static noise of deep space. At first, it was faint, almost imperceptible. Then, as he refined the data, it grew stronger, clearer. A signal that wasn't random noise or background radiation, but something structured, deliberate. Something intelligent. It became undeniable. This was no accident. Someone or something was trying to communicate with Earth. Elias quickly began decoding the message. His mind raced, trying to make sense of the complex algorithms and unfamiliar patterns that were embedded within the transmission. It was a puzzle, one that he instinctively knew he had to solve. But just as he thought he might be getting close, the message seemed to shift, as though reacting to his attempts. The patterns in the signal rearranged themselves, revealing new layers, new frequencies. At first, Elias thought it was just a glitch, but the longer he worked, the more he realized that this was intentional. The signal was alive, evolving, like a living organism. And then, with a final burst of clarity, the message became clear. To the people of Earth, it read, "We have watched you for centuries. Your potential is vast, but your time is running short. You stand on the edge of a great precipice. Will you take the step? You are invited to join us, to become a part of something much larger than your world. But know this, those who answer the call will be bound to an ancient galactic council. Your fate will be intertwined with ours, and your world will never be the same." Elias's breath caught in his throat as he absorbed the implications of the message. This wasn't just an invitation, it was a summons. Earth had been watched for centuries by an alien species that had known about humanity long before Elias had ever heard of them. The very survival of his species was now linked to this mysterious galactic council. But there was more. Embedded within the message were coordinates, precise, mathematical coordinates that led to an ancient alien outpost. It was a place no one on Earth had ever heard of, a place where the answers to all of humanity's questions might be hidden. This was an opportunity, an invitation to step into a world beyond their understanding. But there was a catch. The Council was not some benevolent force that would guide humanity into the stars. It was an ancient, powerful, and secretive organization. Anyone who chose to engage with it would become part of that organization, bound by its rules and its goals. Elias's mind spun with the possibilities. This could be the breakthrough humanity had been waiting for, the key to their survival in an ever-dying world. But at what cost? He had always believed in human independence, in the power of human intellect to shape its own destiny. Could he, in good conscience, lead humanity into a relationship with an alien council that could reshape everything he knew about the universe? As Elias stared at the coordinates, a sense of awe washed over him. This was the opportunity he had dreamed of, but it came with unimaginable consequences. Could humanity be ready for this? Could he lead them into the unknown without sacrificing everything they had fought for? The decision wasn't easy, but Elias knew one thing for certain: this was only the beginning. A new chapter in humanity's story had begun. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, now rested in his hands. This opening establishes Elias as a relatable character facing the immense challenge of saving humanity, while introducing an intriguing plot twist. Would you like me to expand on this or adjust any part of the storyline? The journey to the alien outpost was long and treacherous. Elias had never imagined that humanity's first steps into the stars would be so disorienting. The coordinates from the alien message led him to a remote corner of the galaxy, far from any known star systems, deep within an ancient nebula. The outpost was hidden within the ruins of a colossal, dying planet, a once thriving hub now reduced to a decaying relic. When Elias's ship finally docked at the outpost, the sight before him was like nothing he had ever imagined. The architecture was breathtaking, towering spires of blackened stone that seemed to defy gravity, shimmering in the nebula's eerie glow. The atmosphere was thick with dust and static, as if the planet itself was holding its breath. The air was charged with a palpable sense of history, as if the ruins themselves were mourning the passing of an ancient civilization. As Elias made his way through the desolate structure, the eerie silence weighed heavily on him. It felt as if the outpost was abandoned, but he knew better. The message had been clear: he was not alone here. Soon enough, he came across a hidden chamber, the walls covered with strange symbols and alien inscriptions. At the heart of the chamber lay a massive crystalline structure, its facets glowing faintly with a deep, almost hypnotic light. This was the core, the source of the alien technology he had been invited to explore. But just as he began to study the crystals, a figure emerged from the shadows, a tall, slender being with skin that shimmered like liquid silver. Elias froze, instinctively reaching for his communicator, but the figure raised a hand in a gesture of peace. "You are the human," it said, its voice melodic and alien, yet somehow understandable. "Elias Hunter, yes?" Elias nodded, his heart racing. "Who are you?" The figure stepped closer, revealing more details of its alien form. It had no facial features, just smooth, reflective skin and an elongated head. "I'm called Illyra, a member of the Call. We are the ones who summoned you. You have come to help us." Elias's mind spun. The Call, the ancient race who had reached out to Earth, had been reduced to a near-extinct species, but they were intelligent, highly intelligent, and their technology was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. He had expected them to be advanced, but what he hadn't anticipated was how desperate they were. Illyra continued, "Our race is dying. The last of us are here, in this dying world. Our species, once vast and powerful, has been ravaged by time and disease. We have only one hope left: the genetic material of your species. Only your DNA can regenerate us. Only your genetics can save us from extinction." Elias's stomach churned. The invitation had not been a gift, not a grand opportunity to join an intergalactic council. It had been a trap. The Call were not inviting humanity to join them. They were seeking to use humans as a resource. Their survival came at the expense of Earth's autonomy. Elias found himself in an intellectual dilemma, unlike anything he had ever faced. He had always believed that technology could save humanity, that science could solve any problem. But this was different. If the Call succeeded in using humanity's genetic material to regenerate themselves, Earth would be left subjugated. The Call, with their superior technology and desperate need for survival, would likely impose their rule over Earth. Humanity would become a tool for their resurrection, no more than cattle for an alien race's rebirth. Yet, at the same time, Elias knew that the Call's technology could solve the problems humanity faced. The Cole possessed knowledge that could reverse the environmental collapse, cure diseases, and extend life. They could offer solutions to everything that was slowly destroying the planet. If Elias turned them away, humanity might perish before it could even reach the stars. His mind raced. Could he justify sacrificing Earth's freedom to ensure its survival? Was there a way to negotiate, to find a middle ground where both humanity and the Cole could thrive without one exploiting the other? Elias's scientific mind screamed that there had to be another solution, a way to use the technology without becoming subservient to the Cale. But he had no answers, only uncertainty. Suddenly, his communicator beeped. He answered it, hoping for some form of guidance, but what he received instead was an urgent transmission from an unexpected source. It was from a different alien faction. "Human, you are in grave danger," the voice crackled. "Do not trust the Qual. They have manipulated your species for centuries. They feed off the genetic material of other races to survive, leaving them nothing more than a breeding ground. Their technology is powerful, but it comes at the cost of your soul. If you cooperate with them, you will be their slaves." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Elias in stunned silence. He wasn't alone in this. Another alien faction, who seemed to understand the Qual better than he did, had been monitoring the situation. They believed that humans, despite their flaws, were a dangerous and unpredictable species too unpredictable for the Qual to manipulate. The other faction had its own agenda, though one that Elias could not yet decipher. But their message was clear. The Cole were not to be trusted. Elias was caught in a web of political intrigue, one that stretched far beyond his understanding. The Cole's need for humanity's genetics was not just a matter of survival, it was tied to a galactic power struggle. The Cole had enemies, and their enemies saw humanity as the key to preventing the Cale from dominating the galaxy. Elias now stood at the center of a political chess game, with factions both known and unknown maneuvering for control. What began as a hopeful mission to secure humanity's future had transformed into a battle for survival, not just for Earth, but for the fate of the galaxy itself. The alliances that had seemed so clear at first were now fractured, with each faction holding its own vision for the future of the cosmos. And as Elias pondered his next move, he realized that every decision he made from here on out would not only determine Earth's future, but the balance of power across the stars. His next steps were critical. He could help the Cole regenerate and hope that their promises of salvation were genuine. Or he could side with the other factions, risking war and uncertainty but maintaining humanity's independence. The choice weighed heavily on him, and with each passing moment, the stakes grew higher. The clock was ticking, and Elias could feel the weight of the galaxy pressing down on his shoulders. In this second part, the narrative deepens as Elias confronts an ethical and political maze. The introduction of the Cole's true intentions forces Elias to reckon with the moral implications of his choices. The new mystery of the other alien factions adds further complexity, setting up the story for a tense and unpredictable future. Let me know if you'd like to adjust or expand anything. Elias had thought he had seen the worst of it, but the truth that now unraveled before him was far worse than he could ever imagine. The Cole weren't the only ones who coveted humanity's genetic material. There was something far darker at play. ASE continued to navigate the fractured web of alliances. A covert transmission arrived, hidden within the encrypted messages of his allies. It was a recording, one that sent a chill down his spine. In the dim light of his quarters on the alien outpost, Elias watched as the transmission revealed an unexpected truth. Rogue humans, those who had left Earth centuries ago, were behind the scenes, pulling the strings. These individuals, known as the Exiles, had long ago integrated with various alien cultures, gaining access to the most powerful knowledge the galaxy had to offer. They had infiltrated the Galactic Council, posing as diplomats, strategists, and scientists. But beneath the surface, they were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The Exiles were not simply looking to save their own species. They were using the Cale's desperation for Earth's genetics to further their own ambitions. They planned to amass Earth's resources, genetically enhance their armies, and overthrow the fragile galactic order. The Exiles believed that humanity, with its raw ambition and adaptability, had the potential to rule the galaxy. Elias's mind reeled. He had always been proud of human ingenuity, of the ability of Earth's people to overcome any obstacle. But this was something else. He had always believed that humanity's resilience was a virtue, something to be celebrated. But now, he saw that this very resilience could be their undoing. The exiles had twisted humanity's greatest strength into a weapon of conquest and domination. As the realization sank in, Elias was forced to confront a grim truth. What did it really mean to be human? Was humanity's ambition truly a force for good, or had it become something darker, something that threatened the very foundation of the galaxy? The exiles had made their move, and now Elias could no longer deny that humanity's drive for power had the potential to tear everything apart. Just as Elias grappled with the enormity of this revelation, another disaster struck. The exiles, in their thirst for power, launched a devastating weapon on a peaceful alien race known as the Sci-Fi. The Sci-Fi were a highly advanced species, known for their peaceful nature and vast knowledge. Their alliance had been critical in keeping the galaxy's fragile peace intact. But the exiles had targeted them, seeing them as a threat to their plans. The weapon was unlike anything Elias had ever seen, a massive energy pulse that annihilated entire planets with a single strike. The Sci-Fi homeworld was obliterated in an instant, sending shockwaves through the galaxy. The destruction of the Sci-Fi sent the entire Galactic Council into disarray, and the already tenuous peace between factions crumbled. A war unlike any the galaxy had ever known was now inevitable. Elias felt the weight of the galaxy pressing down on him. The exiles had set in motion a chain reaction that threatened to destroy both the Quell and humanity. The Quell, now facing extinction more desperately than ever, would either fall in a final act of desperation or retaliate with their superior technology. Meanwhile, Earth, caught in the center of this intergalactic conflict, could be consumed in the chaos. Everything Elias had fought for, the hope that humanity could survive and thrive, was now on the verge of collapse. But then an unexpected offer came. The leaders of the Quell, sensing their impending extinction, approached Elias. They needed him. He had the one thing they could never possess: humanity's adaptability, its unpredictability. The Quell were broken, their race dwindling. They needed a new leader. Someone who could unite the factions, someone who could forge a path through the galaxy's darkest hour. Elias was stunned. He had once been the humble scientist, the one who just wanted to save humanity. But now, the fate of the galaxy rested in his hands. If he accepted their offer, he would become the alien emperor, uniting the Quell, the exiles, and the remaining factions into a single, unified force. He would have the power to restore order or destroy everything. For the first time, Elias questioned everything. Could he trust the Quell? Could he trust humanity, knowing the exiles were manipulating everything behind the scenes? Was this his chance to save the galaxy, or would it be his undoing? Was humanity truly ready to rule, or had the exiles' twisted ambition tainted everything they had fought for? In the silence of his quarters, Elias felt the weight of the universe upon him. The peaceful existence he had once known had vanished. There were no easy answers anymore. Every decision he made would have far-reaching consequences. The galaxy had plunged into chaos, and the exiles, with their relentless thirst for power, would stop at nothing to see their vision realized. If Elias chose to side with the Quell, he could ensure humanity's survival, but at the cost of its independence. If he chose to side with the other factions, he risked everything: the destruction of Earth, the collapse of galactic governance, the annihilation of entire species. He could no longer be just a scientist. Elias Hunter now had to decide whether he would embrace his new role as a ruler or let the galaxy burn around him. His thoughts drifted back to the words of the Sci-Fi, who had once said that humanity's greatest gift and its greatest curse was its unyielding will to survive. He had to choose: would humanity be a beacon of hope or a harbinger of destruction? This part of the story takes Elias through a major turning point in his evolution. The introduction of the exiles and their dark agenda pushes him to question humanity's moral compass, leading to a heightened conflict, where he must decide whether to fight for humanity's dominance or choose a different path. The stakes have risen, and Elias now stands on the edge of unimaginable power or total annihilation. Let me know if you want to explore any part further. The weight of the galaxy rested heavy on Elias's shoulders. The decision had been made. The crown was not forced upon him. Rather, it was one he had taken on of his own volition. But this crown, this power, was different. He would not wield it to conquer or to rule in the traditional sense. He was not meant to dominate the galaxy or impose humanity's will on others. Elias would reshape the very foundation of the galactic order. The Kale, the exiles, and the fractured factions that populated the galaxy now answered to him. But Elias's leadership came with one guiding principle: balance. He rejected the notion that one species should dominate the rest. He would create a new system, one that offered every species a voice and equal place in the galaxy's future. The old power structures, fueled by endless war and conquest, were crumbling. And in their place, Elias built a council, a true galactic congress where every sentient species had a seat at the table, where negotiations would replace wars and dialogue would replace domination. The process was slow and difficult. Many factions resisted, unwilling to relinquish the centuries-old hierarchies that had kept them in power. The exiles, however, refused to be silenced. They plotted, they schemed, they tried to manipulate the new council system for their own gain. Elias had known this would happen, but he had not anticipated how far the exiles would go to maintain control. Their final act of sabotage, launching a covert strike against a key member of the council, nearly tore the fragile peace apart. It was only through Elias's intervention, his decisive action, that the plot was uncovered before it could escalate into full-scale war. But this victory came at a price. The exiles were no longer a mere rogue faction, they were a force that now had to be dealt with permanently. And so, Elias made the difficult decision to expel them from the council and strip them of their power. Their rebellion had been quelled, but their influence had left a permanent scar on the galaxy's newfound unity. As the years passed, Elias found himself increasingly alone. The other factions, though they agreed with his vision, had difficulty accepting the depth of the changes he had imposed. Some still saw humanity as a threat, as the species that had disrupted the balance of power. Others questioned whether Elias was, in fact, no different from the exiles, an ambitious leader who sought control over everything. He had brought peace, but peace was not always the answer. Peace, as Elias was learning, was a delicate and fragile thing. There were moments when Elias wondered if he had made the right choice. Earth, the cradle of humanity, was now just another member of the Galactic Council. No longer could Earth claim superiority over the stars. No longer would humanity's potential be enough to lead the galaxy. But despite the political victories, there was a deep ache in Elias's heart. He could feel the disconnection from his home planet, the growing gap between the Earth he had once known and the Earth that would now serve as one piece of a larger cosmic puzzle. The price of peace had been the freedom humanity once took for granted. And yet, Elias knew he could not go back. The galaxy had changed. He had changed. His vision of the future was not one of conquest, but of stewardship, a guiding force to help civilizations navigate their own paths. He had become not just the leader of the Galactic Council, but a custodian of peace in a galaxy constantly on the edge of chaos. He had given the galaxy the greatest gift, the ability to coexist. But that gift came at a cost, one that Elias was beginning to fully understand. One evening, as Elias stood on the balcony of his palace, an immense structure that spanned across the surface of a distant moon, he gazed out at the stars. The view was breathtaking. The endless expanse of space stretched out before him, dotted with countless worlds, some thriving, others in ruins. The light from 1,000 suns reflected in his eyes, casting an ethereal glow across his face. He thought of Earth, the planet he had once known. Was this truly the right path? Had his decision to abandon Earth's supremacy been the best choice, or had he simply chosen the easiest way out? In some ways, humanity was more powerful than ever, with an undeniable presence across the galaxy. But in other ways, humanity was weaker. The independence they once cherished had been traded for peace, and Elias couldn't help but wonder if that was enough. And then, the philosophical question lingered in his mind like a distant echo. Was this his destiny all along? Was he always meant to become the emperor of a galaxy that didn't belong to humanity alone? Or had humanity, with all its flaws, been destined to evolve beyond its origins, to move from being conquerors of the stars to guardians of a greater cosmic peace? He had thought of himself as a man of reason, a scientist, someone who could fix the problems of the world. But now, standing on the precipice of this new era, Elias wasn't so sure. Was the true enemy humanity's unbridled ambition, the hunger for power that had driven them to conquer Earth's own destiny? Or had Elias's rise to power been the inevitable step in a greater evolutionary process, a process that transcended humanity's ego? The galaxy before him was in flux. The factions had not yet fully embraced the changes he had made, and the political landscape remained fragile. But Elias knew there was no going back. The question was no longer whether he had made the right choice. The question was, what would humanity become now? As he stood there, his gaze fixed on the stars, Elias felt a quiet resolve settle within him. He had made his decision. He would be the emperor, yes, but he would not be a tyrant. He would be a protector, a steward of a new era. And if that meant sacrificing the freedom humanity once enjoyed, then so be it. It was a price he was willing to pay. The final twist came not from external enemies, but from within. As Elias watched the stars glimmer in the distance, he realized that humanity's greatest enemy might not be the aliens, the exiles, or even the political intrigue that constantly surrounded him. The real enemy might just be humanity's own ambition, a force so powerful that it could shape the galaxy in ways no one could predict. With that thought, Elias turned away from the balcony and walked back into the shadows of his new throne room. He was no longer just a man. He was something more. A leader, yes, but perhaps, in the end, something much more complex than anyone had anticipated. And so, the galaxy waited.